getting a litany of bites. My fly has been hit twice. Ooh, I hooked him now. Ooh, fish on, finally. Fish on, folks. I don't know what it is. It's on a worm. Doesn't feel huge, but who knows? It's way back there, and it hit several times. Kept playing with it. Oh, I see it back there. It's like a nice rainbow. Did not like the look of that net. Oh, yeah. Woo! Beauty. Nice big rainbow. Wow. So, they are not hitting super hard. That fish hit that worm 3 or 4 times over a stretch of maybe 100 yards. He kept coming back. He's all feisty now. But, yeah, ooh, and he just threw the hook. That took a while. Took a while to get that fish in the mouth. So it's a dandy trout, not a monster, but we'll take that. We're off to a good start at Lake Elminor. That fish will be nice in the smoker. Beauty. Awesome. Performance, economy, and rugged dependability. That's what my 7-foot 6-inch trout and salmon rods are all about. To get yours, go to the Fish Hunt Shoot Productions store at fishhuntshootproductions.com. Howdy folks, Kel Kellogg here. Well, it's been a full day of chores today. I've been running around, going to the dump, this and that, building lures. You can see that big kind of plume of smoke back behind me there. Guys below me are clearing brush, so you might hear some equipment noises. But I am just about to jump in the shower. But before I do, I have my last chore of the day, which is checking in on my night crawlers. Now, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I did the nightcrawler project where I built a nightcrawler enclosure. Well, I've made some changes to that enclosure, and it's time to check in on them, feed them. I check in on them about once a week, so you're not going to see me on the rest of this video, at least not for a little while. I'm gonna be filming the food, the crawlers, the enclosure, and doing some comments. So let's check them out. Okay, so here we are. I got it sitting on my my chair there. That is a foam ice chest with a picture of a trout on it that came from my neighbors James and Renee, which I've converted into a worm house. Before we get inside though, I added this to it. Check that out. That is a water valve right there. And I was afraid that I was going to get standing water in the bottom. So I popped a hole in the foam and then I just simply threaded that valve in there. So if I get excess water, it can flow out of there, but there's a screen in there and my worms can't escape, because if there is a hole, they will escape. So let's take a peek inside. There is the lid. There's their air holes right there. Lid off. Oop, there's a night crawler right there. Right there, you can see that newsprint. I'm going to check the moisture here. Oh, nice and moist. There's a good sized worm right there. I don't know if you can see that unless you kind of dig down. You can see all the worms there all spread out in there, looking healthy and happy. Good looking worms right there. Look at that guy. He's all fat and frisky. Looking good. We like that. So it is time to feed these guys. And I've experimented with some. There's another one right there. Maybe that's the same one I just had. But there are about, it's probably about 75 worms in there right now. I've experimented with some different kinds of foods, but people were telling me online that they love coffee. So there are some old coffee grounds there. That is 2 pots worth of grounds. So what I'm going to do, come back over here. I'm going to cover that worm up and just kind of smooth it out like so. And then, sorry about the camera quality here, guys. I'm trying to do this in a hurry. I'm going to take the grounds and I'm just going to kind of randomly sprinkle the coffee grounds in there like so. I have actually have this plastic Fischger's little scoop that I use if I want to dig around in there. It's softer on the worms than metal, so I'm going to kind of mix that in just a little bit. Oops, there's a worm right there. Mix those grounds in there just a little bit. They will come up to the surface and eat those grounds. And last but not least, let me grab my water can. Okay, here we go. This is my water can. It's just actually my wife's water can. I have a little rainwater in there, and this isn't going to take much. I'm just Just put a very little bit of water in there. Well, there's not much water to be had in there, but that's enough because it was pretty moist. So it said on the instructions when I got the worm bedding material that what you didn't want to do is put chlorinated water in there. And so I've been careful with that, and they look like they're doing just fine. Well, that's about it. I'm going to put the lid back on the worm farm, put the worm farm back in the shed out of the sun, and I will revisit those worms in about a week to give them more coffee grounds. Well, as you saw there, I have some healthy, happy, robust worms. They're in their enclosure. They're eating their coffee grounds. They're getting bigger. You know, those coffee grounds are probably a little jittery. But the bottom line is I got a pretty solid supply of worms going forward. Now, since I spend a fair amount of time playing with my worms, my wife asked me, why don't you just use the Gulp worms? And she's a big fan of Gulp. First and foremost, the Gulp worms aren't alive, so they're not all squirmy in her hand. Second of all, they don't come in a little cup of poop, so she doesn't have dirt all over her fingers if she handles them. And you know, I thought about that a fair amount, and you know, I would say the Gulp worms are 90%, you know, give or take, as effective as real worms. Let me show you some Gulp worms if you're not familiar with them. These are walleye baits. They're very threadable. Walleye trolling and trout trolling, there's a lot of crossover there. Bottom line is they came up with a soybean based worm with the Gulp scent on it. It's highly threadable. You put it on a slow death hook and you are fishing, whether you're fishing for walleye or trout or whatever. Put them on that slow death hook. Perfect presentation every time. Here's some Gulp worms that are natural colored and chartreuse. These first ones I was showing you, these are my favorite. These are the natural colored. And then here's some here that are kind of semi-natural colored. So, like I say, you're about 90% as effective as real worms, in my opinion, when you're trout fishing. If the bite's good, you're going to catch them on Gulp. Kind of a medium slow bite to a slow bite, you will catch fish on Gulp. Where worms have the edge, where natural worms have the edge, is when the bite is very difficult, when it's very slow. The beginning of this video, you saw me catch a trout that was repeatedly hitting a real worm. The bite was off, and that fish kept coming back, nipping off pieces of worm, until he got bold enough to get hooked. You're not going to get that kind of action with a Gulp worm because it's very difficult for the fish to prune off pieces. When they're stealing those little pieces of worm, it's making them get bolder. They're getting a taste of that real meat, and therein lies the real virtue of a worm. It's real meat. It doesn't matter if you're still fishing it, drifting it in the stream, planters, holdovers, browns, whatever, they know it's a piece of meat. Hatchery planters know it's a real piece of meat. And that really seals the deal. Man, I could show you many different segments of trout coming up and picking at worms repeatedly. I caught some trout up in the high Sierras last week. Same situation. They were eating insects. The bite was tough, but if I let them get started on that worm and I didn't do anything crazy and just let them hit it, and I played out those strikes a little bit, I was using the pedals in the kayak to kind of play those strikes out a little bit, they would eventually eat enough of that worm. They would get bolder and bolder, and they would get the hook in their mouth, and then the deal's done, man. You get that slow death hook buried in your mouth if you're a trout, and you are going in the frying pan if the angler wants to reel you in and eat you. So, bottom line is, day in, day out, you should have some Gulp in your tackle box. It's a no-hassle worm substitute. They're not going to die in the sun. They're super effective. Just need to remember to keep the bag sealed or they'll dry up on you. Very effective bait, but not as effective as real night crawlers. And I got to tell you guys, having those night crawlers in my shed out there, messing around with them, I've got that Frable worm medium in with the worms. I'm giving them rainwater. I'm giving them water. Sometimes if I go to the lake, I'll bring home water. You can't use chlorinated water. That's the bottom line. Just keeping those worms healthy, messing around with your food supply, it's pretty satisfying. It's a lot of fun. I know, it's a simple thing. I'm playing with worms. What do you expect? I always tell people, that's what I do for a living. I put worms on hooks, so I'm kind of passionate about my night crawlers. But if you have any interest in fishing worms and you have the space and you have a bit of time, I would encourage you to get some of that Frable stuff. Do a little research on YouTube, look around a little bit, learn a little bit about the process, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to have a lot of highly effective bait, not just for trout, whether you're going to take the grandkids or your kids, you know, panfish fishing, you want to go soak some bait for catfish, whatever. Everything hits night crawlers. Even big giant bass will hit a night crawler. Every freshwater angler needs a supply of night crawlers, so you should really consider kind of keeping your own at home. You'll never have to go searching for them, and you can kind of manipulate what they look like, how healthy, how robust they are. And finally, to my wife, I found out if you use that Frabiel medium and you put it back in the worm cups that you originally got the night crawlers from, no more poop on the fingers. That stuff's made out of newsprint. It's just like wet paper. So that's another benefit to raising your own worms. No more poop! Anyway, I'm Cal Kellogg. I'm signing off. I want to thank you guys for all the support. And if you're looking for tackle, rods, reels, and more, my spoons, flies, whatever, you know where to go. FishHuntShoot.com, and we will hook you up with some killer gear at a very good price. Thank you guys. I'm Cal Kellogg. I am signing off, and got some chores to do. Probably need to go home and play with my night crawlers. Anyway, I will catch you later. I'm signing off.